All right, so I have three not hots, but they're really kind of two. The first one is Alex Verdugo. You know, a lot of people saying, "Oh, he's been hitting so well since and tonight, of course, he's 2 for 2. My God, so
You know
great
how to pick
prediction
him.
by me."
Yeah.
But or he was 2 for 2 to start the game. But prior to that, he was 1 for his last 20. I think that one happened to have been a 2-run double, but he was 1 for his last 20 prior to that. So not great last week for Alex Verdugo. Still hitting better in the 4-hole for the Yankees. He's only owned in about 50% of the leagues. You think like we saw Soto carrying the team, then Judge carrying the team now. Like if Judge, Soto, and Volpe start hitting at the same time and Verdugo's still batting cleanup in that lineup, he's going to have some opportunities to do some real damage. So I would still pick him up. He just hasn't been good in the last week.
Sure. And I do want to just quick honorable mention. Seth Lugo has been phenomenal. Great ADP value. And same with Shota Imanaga, right? I mean, two pitchers that have just been absolute studs. So wanted to throw their names in here, even though we didn't do a deeper dive. But Seth Lugo and Imanaga have been phenomenal as well.
All right.
Are we on the knots?
Yeah, we're not hot.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought
I'm
up
sorry.
the
I
guys
realized because I realized that you did Verdugo, but I was like, I didn't mention them.
That's
So
fine. We put it this way, without foreshadowing too much, I didn't forget them.
okay, well, I wanted to make sure. Okay, sorry. I was questioning my leader here. I was like, are we doing this? Are we jumping ahead? Okay, my first not hot is a guy who I was off of, and he kind of proved me wrong to start off the year. But now I get to take my little victory lap, and that is CJ Abrams. He has not been the guy who he started off as. Since April 21st, he's got just one home run, right? Everyone was gloating about, oh, the power's finally here. And I saw it, right? His exit velocities were up. Everything looked good. But since it has trended back down, in May, his slash line is 196, 222, 235. He's got no home runs in May and just one steal. And since April 23rd, his season average was at 316. So it peaked there. And now, 3 weeks later, it's at 261. So he still has a below average exit velocity. He's still not doing a lot of the things that I would want to see if I was going to anticipate he's going to hit 25 home runs. Again, I think it's probably more likely that he ends up with less than 20 than he does over 20. And he's got 7 so far. So I'm anticipating, maybe a couple per month or something like that, a couple home runs on average. But I am not anticipating that big early season power breakout to continue. And he's been just ice cold at the plate so far, or lately, I should say.
Well, I got 2 for you, but they're on the same team. I've done this in the past. So let's just call it the Toronto Blue Jays are not hot as a team. And then also their individual players, specifically George Springer and Dalton Varsho.
Mm-hmm.
Dalton Varsho, 2 for his last 20 at the plate. On the year, he's not great. The last 2 weeks, he's only got 1 home run in the last 2 weeks, 6 for 36, a 268 on base in the last week. He was 0 for 4 today. So Dalton Varsho really not playing well. And then on the season for George Springer, a 201 batting average, only 3 home runs and 6 RBIs. Yikes. So also incredibly slow start for a team that struggled. And I keep telling you that I think this offense will come alive at some point. Like it has to. I saw Vlad had a few hits and he's maybe trying to get going a little bit.
Yeah.
But those 2 guys, Varsho and Springer, have been ice cold.
Funny that you mentioned it. George Springer is one of my ice cold guys. Season slash line does not look good, and the underlying stuff looks okay. I will say, so his current batting average is 201, and his XBA, or his expected batting average, is 251. So maybe there's some sort of improvement coming. Not crazy about it, but I don't think it's long before Toronto moves him out of that leadoff spot, especially because, and I've seen a lot of people tweeting this, Davis Schneider has been on a tear and he's got an OBP of 366. So, I'm not the biggest Davis Schneider fan, but at some point you have to say, hey, this guy's hot. This guy's hitting. Put him over. I don't care how much you're paying George Springer. I don't care what his history is like. He's not hitting right now. Let him figure it out somewhere else.
So the Astros suck no matter where they're playing.
Good one. But I do have a little. Um, I'll give a little hint for later in the prospect report. Maybe there's some help coming for the Toronto Blue Jays in the future, in the near future. Um, but my last who's not hot is a catcher who a lot of people thought maybe again a power breakout was coming. He had a high floor to hit, high good field to hit, and that is Gabriel Moreno for the Arizona Diamondbacks, the catcher for the Diamondbacks. One of the highest floors that we've seen from a catcher as a hitter, just a pure hitting standpoint. But um, he's just hasn't been the guy that people wanted him to be. He's only got 8 home runs in his career in the regular season. And funny enough, he has 8 in the playoffs and spring training, right? In a super condensed, high, I guess maybe not spring training, high intense and low intensity, but throughout the length of a season, he just doesn't have the power that we need. And he's showing it. He's got no barrels, right? 4% barrel rate is not good, and just 1 home run to show for it this year. So I'm not buying Gabriel Moreno. I think he actually probably hurts you quite a bit in the power department, and it's not like his batting average has been off the charts either. So Moreno is a guy who is not panned out. I know he's got a few hits over the last week or so, but I put him on here because it's kind of like where you drafted him and maybe what you were anticipating is just not what you've gotten from him so far.